Shalom and welcome to the second vlogcast for the Pulling Down of Strongholds. And what is a vlogcast? It is a podcast with a video element. And this is our first video element. It's a book cover of the book, The Artist, the Philosopher, and the Warrior. I think I referenced that in episode 1, looking at some of the activities, the interactions and relationships between the artist, Leonardo da Vinci, the philosopher Machiavelli, and the warrior, Cesare Borgia. And now, the first episode, which is airing on the ministry website, you can find that at www.artisticministry.net. We looked at Cesare Borgia, his image, which is, as I've talked about this on many different occasions, on this many different episodes and programs on this on the YouTube channel for the ministry, that Cesare Borgia, his image, his portraits were used to represent the Messiah for Christendom from the medieval era on up until now. I mean, you can still see images, any images that you see of him with this dark face, the dark hair, the kind of that almost a feminine features. It's referencing back to Cesare Borgia. The most well-known portraits were done by Leonardo da Vinci, who was a contemporary and who was also one of his lovers. And I am making the call, and I'm not the only one who has done this, but I'm making the call that those images of Cesare Borgia as the Messiah, and even those that are now starting to try and move away from that, making him, with more like sandy blonde hair and blue eyes, or kind of like a hazel green eyes, trying to move it away from that, they are still referencing him, and that is a stronghold. It is a wicked, demonic stronghold that has been in Christendom for centuries, from the medieval era up until now. And again, when we look at just sit back and take a look at Christianity, at the organized Christian churches, and just look at the myriad of ways where you can find this image. You can find it on the fans, the different hand fans that you see. Some of the different women, they'll be using them, sitting there during the sermon or whatever, fanning themselves when it's maybe a hot summer day. You can find them on the hymnals. You can find them in the pictures that are sometimes put in the scriptures, most specifically in the New Testament. You can find them in different just whatever. You can find them on flashcards for children's Sunday school classes, the coloring books. This image is just all over the place. Literal statues of Cesare Borgia on the stained glass windows. He is all over the place. And it's interesting that the lifestyle that he lived, just the different perversions that he did, they are rampant amongst the leadership in the organized Christian church. Now, this image here, this is actually can be found in the Mormon Visitor Center in Salt Lake City. I think that's where this one's at. But I included this one because I was as I said before, I was a pew baby. I was raised literally in the church from infancy up in black organized Christian churches, and then moving on into, as a teenager, joining the Mormon church. And there is this, for some people who don't know anything about the Mormons, they believe that there's this idea that they don't believe in Jesus. They don't believe in Christ. They are very much into Jesus. They are very much into portraits, murals, statues of Jesus, okay? And this is one of them. Very powerful, very impressive. It was one that I used to really, I liked this one a lot. Now, once I started learning the truth about what was happening, how Christianity was developed, and what the different, just the deceptiveness, just the lies, just the pagan trappings that were just infused subtly, okay, I started to move away from that. And here's another well-known painting of the Messiah that you'll find in a lot of, again, Mormon literature, different books, magazines, and such. And they're one of those that have moved away from the more Renaissance, what they would call that Renaissance Christ, which are clearly direct images of Cesare Borgia, direct portraits of him, or still referencing him. A lot of Protestants, definitely the Mormons, they've moved away from that, and so they've given him more of that Protestant Christ, where he's the working man. This would be referencing Jesus, the the son of Joseph, the carpenter's son, the fisherman, kind of moving him away from that, from what we know about the history of Cesare Borgia, that he was a fop. He was very effeminate. He dressed to the nines. He later on in life, because of his the debauchery and just all of the things that he was into, he developed syphilis. But see, look at this image right here. This is again Cesare, okay, Jesus, okay, as most people would call him, holding a black baby. And so that for me, for those people of color who are involved in organized Christian church, this is to kind of help us, to give us this idea that Jesus loves everybody, and look at him, he's even holding this black baby, and look at him kissing him, just holding him up, and that's supposed to make him even more endearing for us. And for me, it worked. You know, when I was younger, when I didn't have the knowledge that I have now, it worked, because there was that white supremacist element that is there, and it's definitely there amongst the Mormons. They believe that Jesus is white, and the Almighty Creator is white, and everybody was white, and the Lamanites became black when they fell away. And we know that basically what they did was what a lot of Europeans did. They flipped the script. They got the records of the Hebrew Israelites that had journeyed over here and kept their records, but when Joseph translated it, he flipped the script and made all of the good people white and the bad people black. And we know that when we read through the scriptures, we know that it was more oftentimes than not, these individuals were black and they were cursed with white skin. We know that clearly. We can read about that. That's neither here nor there. But my point is that this icon of Cesare has become a stronghold. And as I mentioned in the first episode and several different occasions on other videos, this vlogcast is basically a response to a video that was done by a sister who was in the organized Christian church, who had a dream that was very more like a nightmare of some of the persecution that is basically coming around the corner for the organized Christian church, for a lot of the members in there. She saw people being stabbed and just literally blood. I mean, just she saw herself, someone pouring gasoline on her, getting ready to set her on fire. And she made it clear, one of the things that the Most High did was he made clear to her that this was punishment, that the Most High is returning, that he's going to judge the earth, and he's going to bring punishment, and he's going to start in his own house first. And he showed her an image of she said it was a well-known leader of a mega church, and that he was purposefully leading the people astray. And so that kind of moved me, because I was, again, like I said, a pew baby, raised in organized Christian church, and moved away from it. I'm a Messianic believer. I know that there was a difference between the two. To me, there's a difference between a Christian and a Messianic believer. Christians, these are the ones who don't really, they rely on their leaders to teach them and tell them what to do and what not to do. And again, when you have the situation as mentioned in Jude verse 4, where these men who were ordained to this condemnation crept in and gained positions of authority in the church and began to corrupt and twist and turn the teachings, the traditions, to the point where you have pagan concepts, you have pagan teachings, you have pagan doctrines, you have pagan satanic icons, and they've become a stronghold. Okay, so what is a stronghold? On the general definition, it's a place that's been fortified to protect against attacks, okay? Or it can be a place, symbolic of a place, meaning the mind or the heart, where a particular cause or belief is strongly defended or upheld. And in terms of a biblical perspective, strongholds are lofty opinions, they're arguments, they're what is used a lot of times, their knowledge about the Elohim, they're used against him, they're used against his knowledge. And we know that a lot of these are rooted there in pride. They create unhealthy thought patterns, and they create habitual sins that it's really hard to overcome them. And now, I just doing my research for this vlogcast, I found an article by a fellow named Max Lucado, and he makes an interesting point about something. I'm going to share this. He says in his article, maybe it's time to get drastic. I had a friend who battled the stronghold of alcohol. He tried a fresh approach. If I ever saw him drinking, he gave me and a few choice people permission to slug him in the nose. The wall was too tall, so he tried the tunnel. Okay, meaning the wall that fortified barrier that alcohol had become. Trying to scale the wall was too difficult, so he decided to go under it, and basically gave his friends permission to like knock him on the head if ever he was caught drinking. Okay, now that is a drastic way to deal with getting rid of a stronghold, but you know, when I started to really just do my research and study about Christianity, I had fallen away from the church. Like I said, I was a Mormon. I served a Mormon mission. I left the Mormon church and just began to have just a myriad of comedy adventures. Okay, basically the grace of the Most High brought me back to Him. He became my refuge, and so I started to just learn some truths, just to get some information and background, and finding out this information about Cesare Borgia, who he really was, and just an understanding of how he came to be used as the quote-unquote representative for our master, our Messiah, our King, and just how this man is not worthy of that. I said it before, and I'll say it again. Cesare Borgia, when you look at his life and the things that he did, just the murders, just the fathering his sister's child, I mean, this was a man who was, it would be more apt, or more, it would be correct to call him the Prince of Beasts as opposed to the Prince of Peace. This was a man who literally would have prisoners brought, or criminals brought to his estate. He would they would line them up along the wall, and he would use them for target practice with his crossbow. Okay, remember the name of the book that I referenced. He was the warrior, the philosopher, the artist, and the warrior. He was the warrior. This is Cesare Borgia. Lined up criminals, okay, and used them for target practice with his crossbow. This was someone who, in that same book, they mentioned that there was a singer who wrote a song, a little ditty about him that he didn't like, so he had the man brought to him, and he cut out his tongue and nailed it to his hand. That's Cesare Borgia. That's just mild. I mean, read through that whole book. But so for me, in terms of that stronghold that it became for me, one of the ways that I used to diffuse that power, the control that it had over me, that reverence that I felt for that picture, that image, was to do cartoons, to do editorial cartoons, because I know that I am not doing editorial cartoons about the Messiah. I am not disrespecting or being what is the word that they used, a heretic, against or disrespecting Master Yahushua. I am doing images, I'm doing editorial cartoons about a man, about that icon, that image that has for many people become associated with the Messiah. Many of us for years, this is true for me, and I know it's true for a lot of people, in praying, see the image of Cesare Borgia in our minds when we're praying. And can you see the insult of that when you learn the truth about who he was, when you learn the truth about those people, those cabals, those secret organizations that played a part in infiltrating the body of Christ, getting positions of authority, using their money, using their power and their sway to beguile, to deceive, to blind the members so that they couldn't see who they were and what they were really doing, and how they infused pagan trappings, getting the children of the Most High to start to participate in pagan rituals, have pagan satanic articles, icons as their jewelry in their homes. Literally, I mean, in many Christian homes you will find a crucifix above the bed. You'll find it as the first thing you see when you walk into a home. And now knowing that, again, that crucifix, that it is pagan, its origins are not in Christianity, that crucifix has nothing to do with the Messiah. He was not our master and king who offered his life and willingly died for us. He was not crucified on a crucifix. He was impaled on a stake. That crucifix goes back to the worship of Tammuz. It was a T. Now, as the years have rolled by, they've made the top part longer, okay? But that had nothing to do with our Messiah. But they have made it so using imagery, using paintings over and over for centuries and centuries and centuries, that now we associate that with it. And so when we try to talk to people about it, people who have, like myself and like many of you, I still rely on the Messiah. He is still my refuge and my stronghold to deal with this gang-stalking, to deal with the witch-stalking. So it's easy if we can understand why there would be reluctance, how this has become a stronghold. And there are people who will turn away from you. I know there's probably some people who have already turned off this vlogcast just by looking at this, what I'm doing here, this editorial cartoon. They feel offended. They have put their lives, they've put their tears, spending hours praying, studying the scriptures, doing good deeds, which they're supposed to do, but doing it with this image of this individual right here, this man, who's this image that is, that has come to represent the Messiah, but is really a representation of Cesare Borgia. They have him in their mind's eye. So when we come at them, when we talk to them about this, we're attacking something that has become sacred to them, that has become special. It's part of their private inner worshiping of the Messiah. But and the idea that to let go of it somehow, that they're letting go of the Messiah. And I know, and many of you know, that my standing with the Most High, being worthy of His grace, keeping His commandments, doing good deeds, they're not wrapped up in an image. They're not. I have not stepped foot inside an organized Christian church for several decades, and the Most High still loves me, still answers my prayers. He hears me when I call out, when I cry, when I come to Him in need of comfort, when I come to Him in guidance, when I bring a fast before Him. He hasn't turned away from me because I don't have any pictures of this individual in my home. There's no crucifix above my bed. There's no crucifix or what, a patch or a key ring of any of them. And I still have a testimony of the Most High. He's still involved in my life. But see, because it's not a stronghold anymore. Doing these editorial cartoons, taking away that power. I wasn't taking away the power of the Messiah, Yahushua, Master Yahushua. I was taking away the power of this icon of a false man who was not worthy to be a representative of the Messiah. That's the power that I was taking away. Look at this one. This is another fellow in the lineup who kind of looks like Santa Claus. But when you go down to the peace symbol, because it's a hippie. But if you know the truth behind the peace symbol, that is not, they're calling it peace, but this is how they play on us. This is what for me, it's the fulfillment of the prophecy in Deuteronomy, where bad and evil becomes good. That is when certain Satanists, when they make their commitments, they turn the crucifix upside down and they break the arms of the Messiah. And that's what that is. That is a satanic symbol also. But see, a lot of people don't know that. And what happens, again, I was talking about the difference between a Christian and a Messianic believer. A Messianic believer, we are the ones who will do more research and more study and more information, so that our testimony is based on feeling and emotion, but it's also based on knowledge and information that helps us make better choices, that helps us choose with wisdom what it is that we do, how we worship the Most High, how we allow ourselves to represent Him, the things that we surround ourselves with. They don't. They rely on their leaders, and a lot of Christians rely on their leaders. They're literally, a lot of them are told not to do not to do study, to not research this, and that's almost like a fulfillment. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but there's a verse, a prophecy in 2 Thessalonians, in speaking about the last days, about the Antichrist. One of something that the Apostle Paul said was that the Most High would give them strong delusion. that they will believe a lie because they don't have a love of the truth. When people have a love of the truth, they want to get to the bottom of something. They want to find out what's going on. I know there's a few of you who literally are going to write down the name of that book and you're going to check it out, if for no other reason than to try to refute what I'm saying. But you're going to do your research on it. Why? Because you have a love of the truth. Because you don't want to be deceived. Because your testimony, your strength in the Most High is such that you're not going to play around with it. Now, me, like I said, I fell away from the church and started to have comedy adventures, okay? That, and you know, that, for anyone who might say, well, that's probably why you're being gang-stalked. No, these people were gang-stalking me and have been making my life miserable. When I was caught up in foolishness and doing wickedness, they were making my life miserable when I was doing good deeds and living in keeping with the blessings of the Most High. So that had nothing to do with it. That was something, my name ended up being put on those lists because as a child, as a very, very young child, I refuted the witchcraft Satanists that were involved in the church that my mom had us participating in. And that is why my name was ended up put it on a list and why I've been dealing with witch stalkers. I just wanted to put that out there because like I said, I'm the truth that I've had to look at to help me understand why I ended up dealing with this fiery trial are such that I cannot deny and pretend and play. And the Messiah himself, he said that if we don't confess him before men, he's not going to confess us before the Father. And you look at that word confess, it means to tell the truth. If you don't tell the truth about the Messiah to these people, to these gang stalkers, to the neighbors, to the co-workers, to the whoever, if we don't tell the truth, if we don't confess him, then he's not going to confess us. He's going to stand back and think about that for a second. He's going to not say anything when we're brought before the Messiah. When we're brought before our Father, our King, okay? And our deeds come up. Our mediator is going to stand back and not say anything on our behalf. Why? Because we didn't say anything on his behalf. Think about that. I'm serious. This is what played a part in me deciding to do this vlogcast, to share these editorial cartoons because of the strength that it gave me to let go of those strongholds. Specifically this stronghold. There's others, and I've got editorial cartoons, different comic characters that I've created, Brother and Sister Churchhead, and I mean, there's a lot of them. I'm going to share them as I start to share with you how I let go and overcame some of the strongholds. But this one was a big one. So there's a lot of them on Cesare Borgia. I don't call him Jesus because I know that he's not Jesus. This is Cesare. This is Cesare Borgia in a police lineup. Okay, as you can see here, somebody tried to take poor Sister Jensen's purse and tell her she was going to burn in a lake of fire. Okay, take a picture of it, take a screenshot of it, turn it into a postcard, turn it into a greeting card, a calendar, put it on a purse, put it on a pillow. But it's yours. But this is something that I used as a self-help to help me to just diffuse the power of that stronghold, of both of those strongholds, that pagan cross, crucifix, and that image of Cesare Borgia. But it's yours. You're welcome to use it. And there's going to be more. Like I said, I've got some on these different, as they call them, the pulpit pimps who are up there shaking everybody down for money. I got some, like I said, I have a little a comic strip that I'm doing. It's Sephora and the Church Heads, and she's got a cousin named Dimwit, and it's a humorous way to look at this. So again, use these, but use them with some understanding, making sure that people understand that you are not against the Messiah. You're against the false image of a vile, perverse man that was used to represent the Messiah. You're against that. You're against the that pagan cross, okay? Because we know that the Most High. I mean, think about this. If he were to return, what would he see in your home? What images would he see that would bring him to a place of anger? Because we know that when the Messiah returns, he's coming as a lion. That lamb came before and got put through a lot. This is going to be a lion who comes. Or see, look what I did. I turned it also into a jigsaw puzzle. So maybe you can go on to Zazzle, onto the online ministries store there and buy it. And as you're putting together the jigsaw puzzle with a friend, talk to them about the symbol of that pagan cross. Talk to them about that icon of Cesare and let them know that is not the Messiah. But yeah, so this is episode 1. I'm sorry, rather, this is episode 2. You can check out episode 1 over on the ministry website. And let's see. Again, as a vlogcast, it's going to be a little bit shorter than I guess a podcast. But again, just remember what we're doing. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, 3 through 5. For though we walk in the flesh, we are not waging war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. Use some of these images right here. This is our online ministry website. This is the store. Okay, so if you get a chance, go over there and check out some of those and share those with friends and family as well. And yeah, so again, pulling down strongholds. Be sure and like and subscribe and share. Okay, shalom everybody.